And Jan, going into that, what is the relationship between SANESA and the disciplines? So you've already said you've got this wonderful grading opportunity where you can feed through the points that the children accumulate, which I think is fantastic. And additionally, the reciprocal part of that is that you use the disciplines rules, you use tests and regulations and courses and things. Is there any further engagement between there that we need to know about?
We have a national exec, according to our constitution, and they are like the board of directors that make sure that the structures that's elected in the provinces are complying with what their rules is.
Okay.
Within that structure of the national exec, there's people responsible for each discipline. There's a person
that's great.
responsible for showing, for dressage, for jumping. And on a yearly basis, normally between November and January, we have a memo of understanding with every discipline. And we sign off jointly, and we scan it into our system. It is their public knowledge that everybody can go in and see.
And this is on your website
on
as
our
well.
webpage,
The website's
yes,
pretty comprehensive.
and it's there so that everybody can see that we do our utter best to take hands with the discipline and understand each other and understand where to work better together. For instance, a burning issue now is the grading that jumping provides. They do provide us grading for the SANESA, but they don't include it in the ranking order of the jumpers.
Okay.
So I would think if I can bring a child which is not graded and rank those classes and see that he's consistently winning the meter class, there is a massive opportunity to bring him into the grading opportunity world. So there's things like that which we work with. There is issues from Jumping South Africa and what we must do. For instance, what we did in the last 2 years, we split SANESA classes between ponies and horses. So for instance, for 90s, we have now 2 classes.
Okay.
And it's massive additional classes. But it is a requirement of the graded environment to say, this is how we run our sport. Yes, there's relative distances, all of that, we understand it. And therefore, we went the extra mile and said, okay, just imagine what we do on a Saturday. We have 2 90s, high school, ponies and horses. Then we have primary, ponies and horses. Okay, because you can't discriminate against a child.
No, they've got to.
If mother buy me a horse which I can handle, then he must have the opportunity to participate. So we really sit on a yearly basis and see what we can do to be better, to be closer, to provide that opportunity where the graded environment can say, these guys are really providing us the future of. And I brought
how
a list.
Can we come together instead of fighting?
Yes.
How can we collaborate?
And we are a council member of the SAF, so we adhere to
like welfare issues.
And all of that. Just remember things like, for instance, doping. We have children younger than 30. Now, there's special ways how you handle doping.
With a minor.
With a minor. We must just always have the educational side of it in context.
True.
And protect the child, because he doesn't know what's happened with the horse at the riding school and all of that. But we have live discussions with the
different
SAF,
considerations.
Yes, to make sure that we do things correct and that we have complied with from governance, how we do elections in SANESA, how we do finance, when we publish our financial statements. We are a registered national non-profitable organization. So all of that, the new initiative which you had in your previous podcast, last week's one, about how do we handle bullying?
Yes.
How do we handle discrimination? It's not only between children, it's between adults and children.
It's between adults and adults, which is the worst.
Yes. And how do we handle the coaching issue? You understand? It's any child's constitutional right Mum and Dad don't have money.
Mm.
Dad, please just help me to participate in this riding school to enjoy the sport. How do we handle that? How do we make sure that coaching, which is a challenge in our total sport,
It's throughout the sport,
it's
and you and I were
without the
discussing
sport.
this earlier on, is that
Yes.
there's things going wrong at every level. But can we do better across the sport? Yes. But how are we
Always.
going to do it?
Always. And how do you make sure that children have the freedom to enjoy their horse and then have
Within
the
a
dream,
safe, fun boundary.
yes, and have the dream to make this them sport. And if mum and dad don't have the means to buy the best horse, how can I be so good that those people that have the means employ me to ride their horse? And there's examples like that right through our sport.